work for it. I would just say that I've made money in a lot of different ways. I've made money making burgers at Arby's, but they're not quite burgers, but they got meat in them. And I've made money by asking money from my parents when I was a kid. Let's see, how else have I made? I made money by being a corporate slave and working for the man. I've made money as a college professor. And I've also made money even as a landlord, and I can tell you, the best way to make money is to make the money without working. I think that that's the winner. And what I really just think is that I was talking last night with a guy that I've known for a long time that I just love and respect. His name is John Hope Bryant. He runs Operation Hope, and he and I were sitting next to each other all night last night at the gala they were having at the event. And it's just kind of like it was one of these things where when we think about our joint backgrounds in terms of how we both kind of came up in the struggle. I know John grew up in Compton and went through some stuff as a kid, and it was just kind of like, man, if we could get everybody in our community to really embrace financial literacy and everything else, the same way we embrace hip hop music, the same way we embrace sports, the same way we embrace church, yes, Lord. Nothing against the church. I love the black church. I really think that's our solution. Like that's our win. That's how we succeed. And so really overall, I would just tell you that there's so much wealth out here, and it's really criminal, almost criminal to me, that there are people that want to convince you that it's hard or impossible to do if you're black. I'm gonna do that. I look green for a minute. Do I look better now? I turned this light off. Give me a yes or no. What do y'all think? Do I look better now that I changed my lighting? Because when I'm on the road, it's the lighting's always weird. Tell me what y'all think. Y'all like the light? But okay, Josephine does, and I see Josephina here in class all the time, so I got to listen to what she says. Andrea, okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah, here we go. This is me before, after. There we go. All right, good. So I got good lighting. That means I'm ready to cook. So let me cook real quick. All right, so yeah, so generally one thing I want to mention is that the stock market did really well. And if you want me to tell you some stocks that I like, I just bought some. If you go into the Black Stock Market program, you'll see where I put what Dr. Boyce is buying, and I popped in some ETFs and stocks that I like. One that I bought in particular is Google. GOOG. I started buying shares of Google, and I'm going to keep accumulating that over time because Google. They own the company that makes the driverless taxis out in San Francisco, and apparently Waymo is doing really well. People are finally not afraid of these robotic cars, and I think that and it's crazy that we were scared of them in the first place because if you look at the data, driverless cars are safer than regular cars. Like drivers are scary. My wife. When I didn't tell y'all this, some of y'all that came to the convention, we almost had a horrible all-black national convention. Let me tell you why. On the way to the convention, we had it right outside Chicago, and my wife and I live right outside Chicago. So we drove this time, the first time we ever drove. And she said she was in the car with my mother-in-law, and a lady just came on the freeway and swerved into her lane. And Alicia said she quickly swerved over. She said, "Thank God nobody was in the other lane." And then I tried to move, and the lady almost swerved at me again, like she was trying to hit me. And I was just, I mean, my heart froze for a minute because I said, "Man, if I'd lost my wife and or my mother-in-law today, that would be a terrible day. Like that would be a terrible year, you know." And and to just think that we came that close, right? So my point is to say human beings are a little whack. I mean, we are not good drivers. So these Waymo cars, apparently, what's happened with Waymo is everybody was scared of it at first. And now the people in San Francisco, their goal is just to get people to try it out. They said, look, if we just get you to try it out, then you're gonna love it. So what they did was they got people to try it out. Once they got in the car, they were in love. They once they were in the car, they're like, "Oh, this is cool. I can play the music. I can talk. I can do stuff on my phone. I don't have to talk to the driver unless I want to. I don't have to leave a tip because robots don't need money." So they're doing hundreds of thousands of rides a week now. I think that's going to become millions over time, and I think it's going to spread all that throughout the country. The problem with Waymo, just to sort of end on that point, is that the company's not yet profitable. That's the problem. They can do all these drives or these rides, but they're not profitable. I believe that eventually this industry will become profitable. It may just take a few years, just like with Uber. I think Uber took many years to become profitable. And I think once they do, I think Google will benefit. So this is one of many variables that led me to go ahead and up my stake in Google. And I've got some other reasons why I like that stock. So anyway, if you want to see the rest and everything else that I was thinking about this week, feel free to join us on Tuesday. We do our portfolio power play where it's all stocks the whole time. And if you want to do a free trial in our stock market investing program, which is very popular, thousands and thousands of people have tried it and they love it. You can do a 30-day free trial. I'll text you a link later on this afternoon. Make sure you're on the text list. Text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Now, one of the other things I wanted to jump into really quickly is I had to I saw something that relates to economic theory as it pertains to dating. I hear a lot of people, I just, every time I'm scrolling through, I see these conversations about dating and money. And so when you talk about love and money, that piques my interest because in case you don't know, I wrote a book called Financial Lovemaking back when I was on the faculty at Syracuse University because I was really intrigued by how money changes our relationships, how money affects, who people like and who they don't like. I like when I started making six figures, I was very shocked that I suddenly became very handsome. I mean, I was okay before, but now suddenly I was not just the most handsome man in the room, but I would become the most interesting guy. And I didn't become more interesting after I started making money. I was still the same guy, and also my jokes became funnier. And I just didn't know how I said, man, I need to be a comedian because she's just laughing at everything that I say. And so for me, making money was kind of an easy thing because I studied money because I wanted to make money. It was common sense to me. When I was a freshman in college and they were like, well, what do you want to major in? I was like, well, I'll major in, I don't know, what's finance? They were like, well, that's money. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go study that. Because I just figured if you want to be good at something, you should study that thing. Does that make sense? Is that logical? I mean, maybe because think about this, right? This I'm serious on this point. Look at how many people want to have money but don't take any time studying money. Why would you not study the thing that you're trying to accomplish? Or you say you want to have a good relationship. Well, are you studying how to have a good relationship? Or are you just winging it? If you're just winging it, it ain't gonna work. Right? It ain't gonna, if I wanted to be a great soccer player, I would find me a soccer coach. I would sit with soccer players and say, how do you kick the ball? How do you keep it from hitting the ground? This is common sense, y'all. This is the thing. I was explaining to a young sister last night at the Black Diamond weekend. I was inviting her to class. Maybe she's here. If you're here, shout yourself out in the chat, because I know you're gonna stay, because I know you're gonna love it. And I was telling her, I said, yeah, we do financial consciousness training every single morning, 7 days a week. And she said, "Oh, that's great. And what kind of financial stuff do you do?" And I was like, "You know me." I was like, "Well, I just kind of get in there and talk about stuff, whatever comes to mind." And and which sounds incredibly unstructured, but that's why I should have been like a Montessori school kid because I didn't like all the rigidness of the school system. I believe in conversational learning. So I told her, I said, really, my job is not really to teach you anything new. I'm not really here to show you anything new because it is my belief that everything you need to know is actually already inside of you. I believe that God already put it in you. It's my job to just pull it out. To just pull it out. Like what I just said about like studying the things you want to be good at. Well, you already knew that. That's common sense. And unfortunately, the world is so weird that people will talk you out of your common sense. They'll just sit there and they'll just make you think that that which comes to you naturally is not it's not the right path, it's not authentic, it doesn't make any sense, or you shouldn't do that because nobody else is doing it. But to me, if something makes sense, then I think you should do it. And I want you to just process for a moment how many people go through life and do really, really serious things and literally expect to get no training. Like that, you're raising kids, you never learn how to be a good parent because your parents maybe weren't good parents, and there's nobody there to really explain this to you. There's science behind it. There's researchers that have written thousands of papers on how to raise a healthy child, but yet for whatever reason we don't pursue that information. Or you want to make more money and you never ever study money, so you don't understand how the economy works, you don't know where the money is, you don't know how to get it, how to grow it, none of these things, right? Or same thing, you start a relationship, you decide somebody's going to be your baby mama or whatever, and you just say, well, I hope that we just like each other enough for us to stay together, and you don't realize that there's actually tons and tons of research written in the Gottman Institute and others. My wife does this for a living. She can cite a million research papers on this that show you best practices on how to be most successful. And what's interesting is that that doesn't apply to everything. That doesn't apply to everything. I mean, some areas you need training to do it. Like I'm looking at out at this bay, this body of water right outside. I'm in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm looking at my window and I see a ship going by, a big cargo ship. And I assume that the person who's driving that ship probably got training on how to guide that ship. Because if he didn't know how to guide the ship, he might drive that ship right into our hotel and kill everybody. But he went to school. He learned how to do that. So when massa tells you to get training to learn how to get your black job, you sign up for that. You will go into debt for that. You will spend thousands of hours on that, getting your training to do your black job. But when it comes to doing the job of building the life that you want, that doesn't come to mind. We just assume everything just needs to naturally happen and it's going to be what it's going to be and everything is everything. What is meant to be will be. And no, man, if you want that relationship to work out with that man or that woman, you might need to get some help. If you get some help, then you're going to be okay. You want to stay healthy mentally and physically in this world. Life is complicated. Get you some help. Get you some help. Okay. All right. So anyway, let me keep going and let me jump into. And by the way, that book, Financial Lovemaking, that I mentioned, you can have it for free. You can have an e-copy for free. If you go to boyceandalicia.com, boyceandalicia.com, you can get a free e-copy of the book. Also, my wife and I did something a couple years ago called a Black Love Challenge. It's still up there. If you guys want to mess around with that, that's there too. So boyceandalicia.com. All right. So here is what I want to bring to the table. Speaking of what are you bringing to the table? All right. So here's what I'm bringing to the table today. And this particular comment is the one that got me thinking. Is I saw a post, and the post apparently went viral. It had 60 or 70,000 likes or something like that. And I think that that was interesting. And it was a post where a guy said something like, or there was a lady, she was speaking on a podcast and she was kind of cooking. I know a lot of women who say they want a man to make six figures, but how you going to ask for a man to make six figures when you ain't making six figures? How you expect him to have all this money when you ain't got no money? You up here broke and you asking a man to bring all this money to the table and you ain't even got no money. You asking him to do stuff for you that you can't even do for yourself, right? So you get it, right, and it rhymed. Black people, you know how we are. If something rhymes and sounds catchy and they put music behind it, we'll just eat it up. Like, oh, right? Oh, that was great, right? But it might be like refried dog doo-doo, right? But it tastes good because you put some grease on it and some flour, and it tastes like chicken. So basically, that's what. So I was watching this post and I said, obviously, this lady never took a class in economic theory because if she had, she would understand the rules of complementarity in trade and how this actually is supposed to work. That's not the best way for me to explain this. So I said, okay, calm down, boys. Let's break this down so we can really understand why that comment makes zero sense in this place called the real world. Here's the deal. Dating is a market, and we've talked about this in class. Dating is a market just like the stock market. Dating is a market just like the grocery store market, just like the automobile market. There is trade, just like there's international trade with China, or trade between businesses, or trade between a producer and a consumer. Trade means I give you something, you give me something. Quid pro quo, something for something. That's what that means, right? So trade is something where I show up and I'm a man and I'm single and I'm looking for a nice woman or maybe a nice man. I'm not here to judge. We don't talk about that. We don't judge that type of stuff here. And I'm looking for somebody that's going to offer me something that is going to benefit me. Well, there's an economic concept that you probably have thought about. If you haven't heard of it, you'll understand it in about 45 seconds, and it's called complementarity. Complementarity means that I'm looking for something that's going to add to what I have. This is in financial theory. This is how you pick stocks for your portfolio. You don't look for companies that are just going to make the most money. You look for companies that are going to complement what you already have, that are going to add value. Not the same thing. You're not looking for what they call a substitute. Do you understand? Like if I have a hot dog bun, forget, I know some of my Nation of Islam friends in it. Pretend like it's like a real healthy, it's like a vegan hot dog. It's like I don't, we ain't doing, we ain't got to do pork up in here. But I have a hot dog bun. What am I looking for if I have a hot dog bun in my hand? Am I just looking for another bun? Is that it? Am I going to just have a big bun sandwich? Be bun B and just get about five buns and eat five buns at one time? Is that what I'm gonna do? What am I looking for if I've got a hot dog bun? I'm looking for a freaking hot dog. So if you show up and you say, "Oh, you got a bun? Well, I got a bun too. Here, let's trade buns." Life don't work that way. No diddy. Wait, I'm sorry. Something weird about trading buns. It just sounded funny to me. So if I got a bun and you got a bun, then we then we both gonna go out looking for hot dogs. We can't just trade buns. Your bun adds no value to my life. So to go back to what the woman said, when she said that why would you expect a man to provide something that you can't provide for yourself? What she needs to be understand, and ain't nobody gonna listen to me because I'm a 53-year-old college professor, which apparently means I'm out of touch and I must be elitist and think I'm better than everybody else, or I'm an uppity Negro. I don't know what people call it, but it's not even logic. It would be illogical actually for her to actually take your advice. Because what she's doing is the most logical thing she could be doing in that situation. She said, "Look, I ain't got no money, but I do have value. Well, what's my value? Maybe I am the prettiest girl in the room because I spend time at the beauty salon. Maybe my value is that I know how to make a man happy in many ways that his brother cannot. Maybe my value is that I'm a great partner to have in a relationship. Money is not my strength. So if I'm looking for someone to trade with, if I'm looking for a partner and a complement, then I'm going to look for a man that has some money because I ain't got none. Right now, he may not be looking for. He's got if he's got money, there's a good chance he may not be looking for a woman with money. That's another thing. That's where some people just get it wrong. They're like, well, I make a lot of money, so I want a partner who makes a lot of money. Well, so I can tell you like this. I'm gonna tell you the truth. When I didn't have no money, then yes, I wanted a woman that had some money because we could. I didn't want us to just be broke together. But when I had money, I didn't even ask you how much money you make. I did not care. You want to go eat at Ruth Chris? Okay, I'll pay the bill. I'm not even thinking about that at that point. I'm looking at the five or six other variables that have nothing to do with how much money you have in your pocket. So if you show up and you say, "Well, I'm a crappy person, but I got money," hey, come on, boys, let's go on a date. I got plenty of money, but I'm terrible in bed and I'm not nice to you and I'm gonna treat you like crap. But I got money like you. That doesn't even make any sense. That doesn't fit the rules of complementarity of economics. That would not have interested me at that time. So ultimately, I think we got to get past, and I don't know where this came from. I don't know where somebody misled us into believing that men and women are supposed to be identical, that they're supposed to be the same. I mean, for someone to say, how can you expect a man to have money when you don't have no money? It's like asking a man, how do you expect her to have a nice booty when you don't have a nice booty? That doesn't make any sense. That's completely illogical. So if you want to know, there's some actual economic theory, and I could read some of it to you, but I think you get the point. Trade occurs with complements, and this is true in economic theory. There's been thousands of research papers written on this. It's not based on substitutes. You don't, if you have a hot dog, you don't go looking for another hot dog. If you have a hot dog, you look for a bun. If you have peanut butter, you don't go look for more peanut butter. You go look for some damn jelly. And that creates what is called balance. Because what happens is that the reason we trade, the reason we complement ourselves, the reason we add people and things to our lives is to create the balance because we have deficiencies in certain areas and we look for others to help fulfill those deficiencies. So, for example, when I met my wife, I was I was a wealthy workaholic who did not have great health, physical health. I did not take care of myself the way that I should in terms of exercise and all that. So, one of the things I love the most about my wife is that she pushed me to start running and doing half marathons and stuff like that, which caused my weight to go down. And I can actually say I look better at 53 than I looked at 43. If you go back and you look at what I looked like at 43, I was a much chubbier man. Now, every morning at 5 a.m., I'm in the gym lifting weights and running and feeling good. And it's because of my wife. That's where she complimented me. That's what she brought to the table. I don't even know how much money my wife has in her retirement account. I don't know how much money she makes. I don't ask. I do not care. I got the money part covered. We good on that. So my point is to say that I'm going to tell you the truth. I really think that a lot of these relationships break down because nobody got any coaching growing up. I think that broken families are a generational curse. And you have people literally that are the blind leading the blind. And you get these influencers, they sound really good when they're talking, but nobody takes the time to actually say, well, what is your relationship like? You're talking about marrying black women. Are you married to a black woman or are you just speculating? Like just all these crazy things. And I think that generally one thing that I would love for us to do a little bit more is look for experience when we're looking for perspective. When you're getting advice, I would get advice from people that know what the heck they're talking about and can prove it, and not just people that sound good on the internet because that's going to lead you down into a ditch. All right. So anyway, with that being, and in fact, it makes me think about there was this one lady I knew a long time ago who used to write all these really juicy, interesting relationship columns and give all this advice to women on relationships. And I met her, and it took me about 3 minutes to realize why she did not have anybody in her life. Watching that, I was like, "Ooh, I was single." I said, "Ooh, I wouldn't date this woman at all." And then she gets married. She announces it; it's a big deal, and then she gets divorced a year later. And then she writes a whole article about why I had to divorce my husband because blah blah blah. And I was sitting there thinking, "Yeah, because you probably don't pick right, and you're not you don't seem like a great person. So I know why you got divorced, but I ain't gonna say nothing because I don't want to be petty, but I feel sorry for all those people that were reading your articles and getting horrible advice from somebody who didn't know what the hell they were talking about. How are you going to teach people how to drive a car when you crash a car every time you get in one? That don't make no sense. When I wanted to learn how to stay married, and because marriage is not easy for anyone. It's tricky. It's very tricky. When I wanted to learn how to stay married, I talked to people that have stayed married. And what you find is that the real information, the real advice is typically not, it does not fit in a nice, neat little box. It doesn't fit into a box of political correctness, and it doesn't fit into a box of the crap that you see on the internet. And so that's all I would say. I'm kind of done. And I have nothing else to say about that. So there we go. There's that. So anyway, if you want, actually, you may or may not know, my wife actually is a mental health specialist, which she needs to be because I'm half crazy. And she actually does something on Mondays called Mental Health Mondays. My wife helped us to create the first ever Black financial therapy department in the Black Business School, where we work with the best Black therapists to figure out and to break down the psychological barriers to Black wealth and Black family and things like that. So she does something called Mental Health Mondays. And everybody's invited. If you pull out your phone, text the word love to the number 87948. If you text love to 87948, somebody type that in the chat so everybody can get it. Then Dr. Alicia, I'm going to join her on Mental Health Monday this Monday. And actually, we're going to talk about the pressure of being a provider and just how that's really hitting so many people and how to kind of cope with that, not just from a financial standpoint, but also from a mental health standpoint. And this is really important because right now, what's happening in America is that there are studies on this. The Surgeon General issued a warning recently, and the warning from the Surgeon General is that you have millions of Americans that are under a lot of stress because they are part of what is referred to as the sandwich generation. The sandwich generation is when I think like maybe you're like say 35 to say 55, and you've got kids to take care of that are young enough that they still need your help, and then you've got aging parents that also require lots of time and lots of money, and it's very, very stressful. And this is another reason why financial preparation is extremely important right now, because if you have consciousness, if you have consciousness and you see what's down the road, you're looking down the road. You're like, okay, consciousness, that's what consciousness is. Remember, it's an awareness. It's a high raising to a different dimension. It's chess over checkers. So you're looking down the road, and I've got this 5-year old grandson or something, and I see down the road he's going to have some financial challenges. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, he's going to be, let's say, in the sandwich generation, where he's going to have to, okay, or maybe let's say I'm his dad, and I know I'm 50 now and I'm healthy, but in 30 years, my 5-year old son is going to be 35 years old with an 80-year-old dad. He's going to have to be able to show up for me. What does that mean? How do I prepare for that? Well, number one, we've talked about this. I invest in that little boy so he doesn't hate me when we get older, because I hate to be the old man that they abandoned at the nursing home because my son's off chasing women or something and doesn't have time for his dad because his dad never had time for him. So that's the first thing, right? I pour into him as the asset that he is, give him his code of conduct, and support him in as many ways as I can so that he'll feel the need to reciprocate when I need him. When I need him to show up for me, he'll remember, oh, well, this guy showed up for me when nobody else did. I've told you that story about my father and how my father did something that a lot of men would find abominable. He actually married a woman and took care of her kid. And he didn't have to. He could have been chasing women. He could have been getting high. He could have been pleasure seeking, but instead he chose to take the responsibility of being a father. And years later, when my father needed me, guess who showed up? I showed up like, yes, sir. What do you need? Oh, you need money? Here you go. We're going to pay the house off. Let me write the check. You want me to go call the doctors for you? I got you. You need a ride somewhere? I got him. Do you understand? And people don't see this at all because, again, I told you that, that the society trains you to focus on instant gratification. And if all you're seeing is what you're going to have right now and today, then you're going to suffer long term. You will have a lot of fun right now, but you will pay a big price later on down the road, a massive price. And that's what you see right now when you see so much suffering, when you see so many people feeling destitute and stuck and unloved, unhelped, unsupported. Well, remember this, you're watching the end of a movie that started 20 years ago. I think that there's a story behind every senior citizen that you see in a nursing home where nobody comes to visit them and their own children don't even have time for them. I would be curious. I'd like to go back and see what were you doing when you were young and healthy and the kids were young and vulnerable. Where were you spending your time? Where were you investing your energy? Were you investing energy into pouring love into them? Because the people who poured love into their kids when they were little, oh, they don't have no problem getting help in the nursing home. They got kids coming to see them every week, money being sent, they're well taken care of. But the ones who were folk who lived in say 1992 and only thought about 1992, or in the 1980s, they were only thinking about the 1980s and not preparing for the future. These are the ones that may have a different outcome. Okay. So with that said, let me back up on this. Where was I going with that? So anyway, I'm gonna close that loop and basically tell you Mental Health Mondays is coming up on Monday at 8 o'clock. I think that's when Dr. Alicia wants to do it. And again, if you text love to 87948, she'll send you an invitation. You can join us. And I encourage you to kind of think about these things because most everything, if you look for the causation of most things that happen in our lives, you can usually find the reason why it happened, and usually it has something to do with an action or activity that took place in the past. Most things that happen in our lives, whether it's a health problem, a generational curse, a financial issue, whatever, it happened because of something somebody did or did not do in the past. So whether you act or you don't act, there's always going to be a consequence. There's always a consequence. So to finish with that analogy I'm the 50-year-old dad and I got the 5-year-old son. If I have financial consciousness, I'm looking down the road and I see in 30 years, I'm going to be the 80-year-old dad and I've got the 35-year-old son. The 35-year-old son is going to have things pulling on him. It's his time. He's the one that's very active. He's thinking about his career. He's thinking maybe he's thinking about women. Maybe he's thinking about his finances. And the question is there going to be space or even the capability to even show up responsibly for that 80, 85-year-old or 80-year-old father? Does he have the time for that? If he's stressed out and working all the time, or if he's too busy chasing women, If he has no interest in you because you abandoned him, then guess who's going to be figuring it out alone at the age of 80, where you're so tired you can barely get out of bed, or you might have had kidney surgery that week and you need to get your medication and all these other problems that you can run into when you get older. So that's what consciousness does. It lets you see down the road. Do you get what I'm saying? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Because I want to move on to another point. And I apologize for belaboring the point, but I want to make sure that you write this down so that at least you have an awareness of all the trade-offs that we make. I truly believe that preparation is the key to success. That when I talk to our youngest child, or really all the kids, if you ask them right now and said, what's the statement that Boyce makes the most inside the house? They would literally say, preparation is the key to success. And because my goal is when I teach them is to say what little things can I say and repeat those things so that it sinks in their brain that will make a big difference. And so whenever something goes wrong, whenever Taylor misses the bus or something goes wrong for Quincy or whatever, I say, well, preparation is the key to success. And I'll be walking out of the kitchen they'll be in the kitchen complaining and sad about something that went wrong, and I'll be like, preparation is the key to success as I'm taking the garbage out. And that's it. And I want that to be in their brain so that if I'm not here tomorrow, they're going to always hear that voice. Okay. So preparation does a lot. And all preparation is investing. That's all it is. That's what investing is. Investing is preparation. Right. The other day, when Trump got elected, the stock market went up 1,500 points. A lot of you made money. A lot of you got rich. Some of you made $50,000 that day. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. But why did you make that money? Well, because at some point in the past, before the election, you popped that money into the stock market. You just prepared. You bought certain assets, you bought your Tesla, you bought whatever it is that you like. And then the market pops, your Bitcoin explodes, and you're like, this is my day. This is chickens coming home to roost. Chickens coming home to roost ain't always bad. Malcolm made it. He laid it out like it was bad because it can be. But shoot, sometimes chicken is delicious. Sometimes the chickens are fat and juicy and good, and you eating good, and then you got somebody sitting over hating. Why that Negro think he better than everybody eating on that chicken, smacking all loud and stuff. Yeah, the only reason he got chicken is because he got those stocks. Like, okay, let them hate. The haters gonna hate. That's your job. Be a hater. Haters are a sign of success. That's a symptom. It happens. But Bitcoin is at 77,000. And I know for a fact that some of you were buying Bitcoin consistently when Bitcoin was less than $1,000. So the chickens have come home to roost. Enjoy your delicious chicken dinner, and I want you eating good. And more chickens are coming home to roost in the future. The question I ask you now is, are you going to be ready? Are you going to have your knife and your fork out, with your bib ready to throw down and eat? Or are you going to make the mistake that the majority of people are going to make right now, which is to not prepare for the future? That's the question. That's the idea. So anyway, last point I want to make. Um, in terms of the stock market, let me just I wanted to share this with you guys really quick. If you want to know what the stock market's expected to do between now and the end of the year, there's no guarantees. I want to make that clear, but I did some research on the history of the market. Like, how does the market typically perform after elections? And what generally happens is that through the remainder of the year, you tend to have a general upward trend in the stock market as a result of a presidential election. I'm gonna read a couple of studies here. There's one. Well, here's a couple of things that happen after elections. First off, the results can vary, so I want to make that clear. So there's no guarantee here, but the stock market typically has a lot of volatility in the days and weeks immediately after the election, and this is due to uncertainty around the direction of the policy, especially if there's a change in leadership or party control. So right now, everyone's trying to figure out what is the president gonna really do? What's that gonna look like? A lot of analysts actually said they were hoping that they would not have the same party controlling the House, the Senate, and the presidency, but that's what you actually have. So a lot of these agendas are going to just get pushed right through, and that's just what it is. So that could cause volatility as the economists try to figure out what the long-term impact is. I can tell you specifically when it comes to Trump, he likes tariffs a lot, and tariffs actually are proven to cause inflation. So it's ironic that he campaigned to say Biden caused inflation, and we're going to get rid of it. But actually, the tariffs that he's proposing are probably going to increase inflation. Also, his plan is expected to increase the deficit. So, but again, the thing about politics is people don't look at what your policy is going to do 8 or 9 years down the road. They look at what they're doing right now. Also, there's something called a first year effect. So historically, the first year effect of a president's term tends to see lower than average returns over other years. So effectively next year, the history says that stock market returns may not be as high as they have been before. Let's see, market trends based on party. Well, there's no hard rules. Let's see, studies show that markets often perform better during Democratic presidencies, while Republican presidencies have sometimes led to more favorable conditions for specific industries. So, defense and energy, okay, those are two areas that tend to do well when Republicans are in office. However, markets ultimately respond more to overall economic conditions than specifically to party affiliation. Because as I mentioned to you all, the common factor, the commonality between both major parties is that they're run by rich people who are all invested in the same stock market as you. So they have a vested interest in ensuring and making sure that the stock market stays strong. So this is something that you can kind of hold on to in terms of what you can expect for the future. And so the other thing is there's something called the presidential cycle theory, which suggests that there's a cyclical pattern in the market over a president's 4 year term. So they say that typically year one shows slower growth due to policy shifts. Year two remains pretty modest with increased volatility. Years three and four tend to perform better as presidents push for economic growth to gain political favor, leading to more pro-growth policies or fiscal stimuli. So they start spending money like crazy because they want the economy to pop, even if it's a temporary pop, because that will cause people to vote for them, which can actually pop your stocks as well. And also there's a few other things that can kind of happen. So overall, even though I could say that generally there's like a sort of a drift upward after the presidential election, that's not guaranteed this time. That's not guaranteed. So the gains that you have, my thought is you want to protect those gains in whatever way you can, as opposed to just assuming that the market is going to keep on going up guaranteed. I told you all what I think about Bitcoin. No, I like Bitcoin a lot. I think Bitcoin in 5 years, I would be stunned if Bitcoin is 77,000 5 years from now. I would be shocked. I'd be just, it would just blow my mind. Like I'd be like, what happened? Like because I just every indicator I see tells me Bitcoin's going to keep going up, and I've been saying this for about 5 years now, even when it was under 5,000 or something. And so, not to tell you what to do, this is not investing advice, but that's something to think about. Now, how do you protect your gains? Great question, LaShonda. I did a specific training on that specific topic. I called it storm-proof investing. So and I saved the recording, if you go to stormproofinvesting.com, stormproofinvesting.com, you can find that training and it's yours for life. You can share it with your whole family and it's right there in the Black Business School. All right. And so anyway, another thing too, when we talked earlier about kids, learning about wealth and kind of getting them ready. Like again, if I'm sitting there and I'm 50 and I've got this 5 year old and I want to make sure that he is prepared to reciprocate with me when I get older, then one of the things I do is I make sure he's financially literate and economically intelligent. Here's the deal. Pay attention now. This is interesting. If I'm 50 and I got a 5 year old son and I'm looking at my son and I'm thinking, okay, 30 years from now in the year 2054, I'm gonna need him and he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. Why? Well, because he's going to be in the sandwich generation, which means he'll probably have kids of his own, but then he's going to have old ass me sitting there saying, calling him and asking for stuff because eventually I had to swallow my pride and ask for help because I'm not young and fit like I used to be. So I want to make sure that I pay it forward by making him as prepared as possible to be able to pursue that role and deal with the pressure. So what do I do? Well, I make sure that that child understands the fundamentals of entrepreneurship. Why is that? Well, because number one, entrepreneurs tend to make more money. People who are really good entrepreneurs tend to make more money than people who have jobs. Number two, entrepreneurs tend to have more flexibility with their time, which means that if dad is sitting in the old folks home and he needs the son to come and visit right away because the doctor called and said there's an emergency, then the son can get on a plane and come see his daddy and not have to ask his boss to give him the day off work. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Or I hope I'm not talking too advanced for anybody. Or too high. I'm not trying to push you too hard. I'm not trying to say too much and overwhelm anybody, but this is what I see, right? And I think that we can all see this. And let me know if you see what I'm saying here. What else do I do? Well, I also teach him how to invest in the stock market, and I don't just teach him how to invest, I give him capital. So I start investing small amounts of money. Check this out. I was looking at something I was researching how much you have to put into a 529 savings plan to prepare your child for college, right? How much do you have to say, I think it was like between 500 and $1,000 a month that has to be put into a 529 savings plan, which pretty much means you're putting it in the stock market. That's what happens to your money. And then by the time your child is 18, they can afford the $400,000, 500, half a million dollars that it's going to cost to go to college, right? Well, my thought is that maybe instead of just thinking about that money as solely a capital base that can be given away to a university so he can get his black job, maybe that becomes a capital base that he can manage instead of giving it to the university and use that capital base to create a good life for himself. Those of you who, for example, sell stock options know how much money can be made if you have a 400, $500,000 capital base and are able to just sell options on those stocks. I talked to a family just yesterday. I kid you not. They live in the Bay Area, and the wife was thinking about going back to work in her 40s. And I said, why would you do that? You don't have to do that. You married a smart man, and you're a smart woman. You've been taking care of these kids all this time. Being a mother is the most important job in the world. I said, now if you want to go back to work because you enjoy it, then I get that. But there's no reason you have to go back to work because you have several $100,000 that you can allocate to a strategy that allows you to sell stock options to the point where you can make $10,000 a week very easily without breaking a sweat. So to me, I would say that the goal for kids should not just be, I'm going to save up so they can go to college so I can just give all our family wealth away to some university. No, my goal is to build a capital base. So, and then teach them how to manage the capital base. And so with my 35-year-old son, when I'm 80 years old, he's 35, he's selling stock options or whatever. And so he's making a quarter million, half a million dollars a year and doesn't even have to go to work at all unless he wants to. And that means that when I call him and say, son, I need you because I'm not doing well, then he can just get on a plane and come see me. He doesn't have to worry about the price of the plane ticket. He doesn't have to worry about getting off from work. He doesn't have to think about anything other than making sure daddy's okay. And if you want to know what the corollary of that is, I still remember I had a friend of mine who called me one day and said, "You'd be amazed. Y'all ever go through that where you succeed at something and then your own relatives don't even care about what you're doing, but the rest of the world does?" I don't know if anybody's ever gone through that, but that was my experience. For many years, I had relatives and friends that didn't really didn't really see, like they didn't they would what would happen is they would just think I was over there like running my mouth about financial stuff, and they were nice to me, but it would take some sort of incident for them to realize that actually this was working, that I'm actually pretty good at what I do. And I was never offended, but you'd be amazed. I had cousins where I would have the All Black National Convention in their city, and they wouldn't even come to the convention. They didn't even come. They didn't think about it. They're like, oh yeah, he's doing his thing. That changed eventually, but I had one friend or relative like that where she said, I used to not listen to anything that you said until my mother was on her deathbed, and I knew she had 6 months or 6 months to live, and I wanted to be next to her every day, all the time, because her father was not there, so her mother was all she had. And she said it just really traumatized me when my boss told me that if I don't leave the hospital and come to work, I'm going to lose my job. And um and I don't want that for anybody. I don't want that for anybody. And I don't want anybody to think that being black means that that has to be your experience. That's my point here. And some of y'all, I know, so just so you know, I know for a fact some of the people in here are not black. But when I say something that's universally true for everyone, I hope you'll still listen to and get past the fact that a black man is telling you this, because these are just facts. These are not just black facts or white facts. These are human facts, and these are American facts, because America is a capitalist society. And if you're not conscious of the whole economic dynamic of this country and how to best prepare yourself, it's going to be very difficult to do the things that you want to do. So this is my thinking. That's my thought for today. And We'll come back and talk more about it. And so anyway, if you want to know about our Business School for Children, feel free to go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. Our kids, when they come out, they have a financial literacy level that exceeds that of the average college educated adult. We have 8-year-olds that know more about economics than most grown-ups. I just saw Caden, who is 14 years old. He's a millionaire now. I saw him at InvestFest. I remember Caden when he was 5 or 6 years old. His father homeschooled him and had him go through our curriculum, as well as some other materials at a very early age. And they came up to me. They saw me at InvestFest and they saw me in the dark and they came over to talk to me because I was kind of sitting inside because I didn't want anybody to see me. And Caden and his dad came up and Caden literally is 14. He's a millionaire. He's already graduated from college. Sorry, not college. I'm sorry, from high school. And I asked if he's going to go to college, and his dad said no because he's already making more money than most college graduates. So these are the outcomes that are possible. And here's the other thing about Caden. I hope his father doesn't mind me sharing this, is that his dad said that when Caden was a baby, he had trouble speaking. So imagine what the school system would have did with that poor child. Imagine what, some teacher from the suburbs would have done with this black boy who she might define as being disabled. He wouldn't be a fraction of who he is right now. He would never, even as a grown man, reach the level of intellect and skill and economic potential that he's reached at 14. He would literally not be at that level even at the age of 50. So we gotta go fight the battle and reclaim our kids. We have to do this, and it's our responsibility, and I encourage you to consider this for your children and for your grandchildren. The options are out there. There are professors out there. There's the resources out there. I mean, I'm telling you. So just think about it. Just think about it. But anyway, if you want to know the URL to check out our Black Business School for Children, it's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. So if you could write that, if somebody could write that in the chat for me, I'd appreciate it. So everybody can take a look at it. And I'll send you guys a link at some point if you want to dive in or something like that. So anyway, I'm out of here. Have a good day, everybody. Don't forget, if you want to be on the text list to be invited to the private Zoom for this class, pull out your phone, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. If you'd like to join Dr. Alicia for Mental Health Mondays, which mental health is everything. If you have financial health but no mental health, I'd rather be happy than have money. I'm just gonna say that right now. Money helps to make you happy though, right? Being broke can make you unhappy. But if I had to choose between the two, happiness or money, I'd rather be happy. I'd rather be a happy broke person than a really unhappy wealthy person, right? So that mental health piece is really important. That's how we break the generational curses. There's a saying that says that a lot of people get therapy just so they can cope with all the people in their family that won't get therapy, if you know what I'm saying. Tell me if you know what I'm saying. Like you have people around you that are stagnant. They think they've got it figured out. They think they don't need no help. And it's hard. It's frustrating to deal with that crap. But therapists can give you skill sets to help you deal with all the crazy people that you got to manage and navigate. Managing crazy people is hard. So I would say the first step is don't be one of the crazy people, and then identify the crazy people, and then you can manage crazy people. I have to do it all the time because I meet a lot of different types of people. So if you're crazy, I'm gonna see you pretty quickly. So anyway, if you want to join Dr. Alicia and I for the Mental Health Monday segment we're gonna do, just text the word love to the number 87948. 87948 is the number for everything, but we have different tracks based on what you have an interest in inside the Black Business School because we want to help you achieve all the goals that you're trying to accomplish. Let's see. Estella, you said the link isn't working for the kids school. Try it again. It's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. And what I'll do is I'll text out the link to you guys. I know that it's working mainly because I got it open right now, but and what I'll do is I'll put it in the chat so you can click on that link directly. So give me a second. Let me see if I can. Oh gosh, they've changed. They have changed. Zoom a lot. And yeah, did it work for did anybody else try it and find that it works or doesn't work? But here's the link anyway. I'm gonna put it in here. So feel free to just click on that link. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And have a wonderful day, everybody. God bless you. I will see you soon. Take care.